It's me, Billy. Agnes, don't you tell what we did, Agnes.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's happening? What's shaking? What's doing? I hope you're all having a good Saturday. The date today is Saturday, December the 28th, 2024, 1:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada, and this is episode 302 of McRae Live. But unfortunately, it's a sad day in the world of horror. A sad day in the world of Black Christmas. Word came down, well, depending on where you are in the world, of course, but for us on the East Coast, it was about, I want to say between 7 and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, something like that, that Olivia Hussey, known, of course, as Olivia Hussey Isley, she was married to David Glenn Isley. Professionally, she's known as Olivia Hussey, and had passed away yesterday at her home in Los Angeles, surrounded by her loved ones. And she died peacefully, by all accounts. I will read the statement from her official Instagram page. And but she had passed away peacefully, which is always what you want to hear, of course. There was no mention of what it was she passed away from, which is not uncommon. However, according to the San Francisco Chronicle, which was, I believe, the first place to get the story, to get tipped off to it, a filmmaking friend of Olivia's was the one that had mentioned it to the San Francisco Chronicle, and it was apparently cancer, which of course is, not a surprise, I guess, considering on, a couple of fronts. Obviously, cancer in all its forms is a bastard, right? And a very common way for people to go, especially of her age. But for those of you that may not have known, she actually, she is was a breast cancer survivor. She had breast cancer, I think, in about 2008, 2009, somewhere in and around there. She had survived it. She'd beaten it. Of course, any cancer survivor will always tell you that you beat cancer, you can beat it, and it can go into remission. But of course, there is always the potential, depending on the type and the kind and your age and your health and all that kind of stuff. Number of factors, of course, but there's always a potential that it could come back, and it could come back in a different form or a different way, or, whatever. That's sort of, I believe anyway, what happened with my own mom. My mother was diagnosed with melanoma. The bad kind of skin cancer, of course, and she had it removed, and then, but did they get all of it? It looks like they did. Who knows? A couple years later, she's diagnosed with lung cancer, and she's never smoked a day in her life. And of course, that was what ultimately ended up killing her. So yeah, it's a horrible thing. Very, very, very sad news. And Olivia has had a heck of a life. She was obviously a heck of a life on stage as well. She's best known to us horror fans as Jess Bradford from the original Black Christmas, one of horror's first final girls, which we'll talk about in a moment. But she was, I think, best known in a global sense, in the general populace sense, as Juliet from 1968's Romeo and Juliet. And of course, there's a whole thing around that film and the lawsuit and the whole thing, which we can save for another show. I have my own thoughts on that, of course, but we can save that for another show. But I think it's important that we talk about her life and who she was and who she is and what she means, of course, to us as horror fans, which I think is really important. But yeah, she's best. I mean, look, I wasn't born till 1979, so I'm 45, so I was not around when Romeo and Juliet was the big hot thing. But I do know a lot of people that were teenagers in the 60s or young adults and remember that movie very well. And it was the kind of movie that they showed if you were in school and you were taking Romeo. Like when I was in school, when I was a teenager in the 90s and we were studying Romeo and Juliet, they did show us Romeo and Juliet, but they didn't show us the 1968 version. They showed us Baz Luhrmann's version from 1996, which is a great movie. It's a great, interpretation of it, different, but great in its own right. But certainly, I didn't get a chance to see the 1968 version. I have since seen the 1968 Romeo and Juliet, but I didn't watch it in school. But if you were a teenager or a young adult in 1968, or 1969 or the early 70s, because it would have been shown in schools thereafter, you no doubt remember Romeo and Juliet from 1968, starring Olivia Hussey and Edward. Is it Edward? Edward, I think it is. Edward Whiting. I just want to make sure I get this. I don't want to disrespect. One second here. It is Leonard, not Edward. Leonard Whiting. That's it. Leonard Whiting. And of course was a huge film. And Olivia was, I think, every teenage boy's crush at that time. A very beautiful young woman, and obviously would grow up to be a very beautiful, or a very beautiful young girl, I should say, who grows up to be a very beautiful woman. And I can certainly understand why so many boys and young men had big crushes on her. If I was around in the late 60s, early 70s, I have no doubt I would have been crushing on her hard as well. For sure. She was beautiful. She was stunning. So no doubt about it. Of course, when I was a teenager, it was Jennifer Love Hewitt. I was all about Jennifer Love Hewitt. But I do have a thing for brunettes, girls with dark hair. Not that the blondes aren't great too. The blondes are great too. The redheads are great too. But you know how we always kind of gravitate towards one or the other, you know what I mean? And obviously Olivia being a brunette, for sure. I would have been crushing on her too. So she was beautiful and extraordinarily talented. She was born in Argentina, but her mother is British. Her mother is English, I believe. So she was born to an Argentinian father, I believe, with an English mother. I think I'm right on that. And so although she was born in Argentina, she did live most of her life in England, which is probably why she has that sort of that Argentinian but English accent, you know what I mean? But it's it's a bit different because of her background, you know what I mean? It's kind of like this hybrid kind of thing. But certainly, yeah, she spent most of her life in England, and obviously when Romeo and Juliet hit, she was very young. She was, I think, 15, maybe she turned 16 on set. And it was a huge film. It shot, like, again, folks, this is the 1960s, and so if you're not, now again, I wasn't around then either, but I can contextualize, I can intellectualize and think about it within its context, like how I think about movies. It's hard for us, and especially if you're really young, to look at an older film and think about it in its context, because a lot of the times things are dated, right? But you got to imagine, like, at that time, you know what I mean? And so in 1968, 1969, I mean, they were catapulted to superstardom. They couldn't go anywhere. I mean, they were rock stars, both Olivia and Leonard. And it was a huge film. And not that it's controversy, of course, as we know, but it was a huge film. And I think it did a toll on Olivia. I mean, she writes about it in her book, The Girl on the Balcony, or The Girl on the Balcony. And she writes about it in her book, the experience, what it did, to her, for her, the trials and tribulations of being a young star in the late 1960s, early 1970s. She was nominated for a Golden Globe for her performance in Romeo and Juliet, but it was like the newcomer. I don't think they have these this section anymore, although I stand to be corrected. It was a Golden Globe Award for Romeo and Juliet, I believe, but it was like the new star, you know what I mean? It was like a Golden Globe for new rising sort of star. I believe that's what it was for. And she was huge, a huge, one of those huge up and coming talents. And then, of course, she was married to, I believe, Dean Martin's son for a little while, for which she had a child with. And I believe it was that child that she had in the early 1970s, right before she decided to do Black Christmas. Now, this is a funny story. I don't know if you guys know this, but one of the reasons, or perhaps maybe the only reason she did Black Christmas, I'm not saying she didn't think the script was good, but she had met a psychic in the early 70s who, and I'm paraphrasing this, but had basically said to her, hey, you are going to do a horror movie soon. The psychic may have even, I stand to be corrected on this, but the psychic may have even said a horror movie in Canada. Like it might have been that specific, but at the very least it was, you're going to do a horror movie soon, or there's going to be a horror movie that's going to come along. You must do it, all that kind of stuff. Olivia was a very spiritual person, very spiritual, an animal activist, loved animals. She had a very, very kind soul, a very kind heart. So much so that it might have been to her detriment at times. I think maybe she had a bit of naivety to her personality, where maybe she got herself into situations professionally and possibly personally that maybe she should not have been in. And that was, she writes about all that. I mean, she knows about all this, right? And, but I think there was that sort of component to her. But she was she was a very spiritual person, very much into meditation and alternative medicine and, all that kind of jazz. And so, it's not a surprise that if a, spiritual teacher or a psychic medium, says you're going to be presented with a horror movie opportunity, and I think you should, and all of a sudden there's a horror movie opportunity that falls on her doorstep, she's going to take it. And so she did. And that turned out to be the original Black Christmas from 1974. And of course, she appeared in other horror movies like the miniseries It from 1990. She was Audra. She was in Psycho 4, playing, what's his face's mom, the younger mom, playing, why do I want to say Bill Gates? I don't know why. Oh my goodness. Norman Bates. That's why. Aids. That's what it was. Yeah. Bill Gates' mom. Norman Bates' mom in Psycho 4. Of course, Jesus of Nazareth and all sort of the other things that she's been in a ton of things. I mean, she was never, I don't think her career ever, there were lots of decisions and there were certain different avenues that her career could have taken. Obviously, she never became a Meryl Streep or some sort of A-list, titan, but she was known. She was known, and she was, she was definitely known. Again, most thankfully mostly to Romeo and Juliet. That's what she's best known for. And she became a huge success. But she was very successful in her own right in a lot of the projects that she did. And she herself had a very strong, loyal cult following. So not only was Romeo and Juliet, I wouldn't say it's a cult film, but certainly in the years after, it has a very strong love and a loyal following. Black Christmas, of course, is a cult film. And she herself had a very strong, loyal following even all these years later. And so, she will, go down for us horror fans when we talk about it from the horror perspective. She is one of horror's first final girls, and certainly one of horror's first final girls in a movie that is sort of the inception, and you could point to it as the foundation. Her and, of course, Sally is it Sally? I think it's Sally from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? Because they both came out the same year on the same day. My American friends I know just celebrated the release of Black Christmas, the American release of Black Christmas, which of course was on the 20th of December, 1974. But the initial release of Black Christmas, being that it's a Canadian movie, was released on October 11th here in Toronto, here in Canada, which is why we released It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 on October 11th. Both Texas Chainsaw and Black Christmas were released the same year. And so, but she is one of horror's first final girls. And because there was never any sequels and apart from It's Me, Billy Chapter 1 and 2, there were 2 remakes, of course, but the 2 remakes were reimaginings as well. It's not like there was a Jess Bradford in the 2006 movie or a Jess Bradford in the 2019 movie. There wasn't. They were remakes, but they were also reimaginings. And so there's only one Jess Bradford and only one movie. And so where there's 2 Laurie Strodes and quite a few movies of Laurie Strodes, right? And so, it's a, as I've often said on this channel and, when we were doing the whole Billy thing, Black Christmas is one of those movies that I understand why it's hot for some and cold for others, right? I mean, some are going to love it, some don't. I get it. I understand it. But whether you like the movie or not, whether you care about the movie or not, and there's lots of movies that I don't particularly care about or I don't, particularly connect with, but I recognize its cultural and historical, in a lot of ways, significance. Just because I may not like a movie or care about it doesn't make that movie any less significance to the, the genre zeitgeist. And Black Christmas is absolutely one of the most influential and important horror films ever made, whether you like it or not. You liking it or you disliking it or not caring about it makes no difference. And her role in that movie is incredibly significant. Also because of the social commentary of that film as well, and her being pregnant and wanting to have an abortion and all that kind of stuff. And so it was a topical thing at that time as well, and important. And because she's so classy, Olivia is one of those women, and there's a lot of women like this, but she's one of them that is the epitome of elegance and class and grace. Do you know what I mean? She just has a classiness about her, a gracefulness about her, the way she speaks, the way she carries herself, her love and attention to her family and to animals and to the people in her life. Again, sometimes that might get her into a little bit of, a pickle because she trusts people too much. But that doesn't take away from the fact that she's a genuine soul. And so in all the roles that she did, right? Whether it was Juliet, whether it was Jess Bradford, whether it was Norman Bates's mother, whether it was, Jesus of Nazareth, that whatever role that she did, she had a presence about her. There was a screen presence about her. There was a class, a gracefulness to her. And not just the way she spoke, of course, but the way, as I said, the way that she handled herself and her character. She was classy lady, old school classy lady. And she brought that to Jess Bradford as well. Obviously, depending on the role, you will notice it, more than others, depending on the role. But there was always that there, and I always appreciated that about her role, and so. It is unfortunate. It is sad. In 2022, when we went into development on It's Me, Billy Chapter 2, and we started writing the script and what we wanted to do and how we wanted to end it, we knew that the goal was to have Olivia Hussey in Chapter 2. We didn't know if it was going to be possible. We didn't know if she would be interested, but we knew that that was the goal. And we didn't want to announce anything too soon because you never want to put the cart before the horse for these kinds of things. And so that's what happened. And for those of you that don't know, we as producers had done our due diligence, and what we decided to do was we decided to put out a casting call to the local agencies here in Toronto, the talent agencies, and see auditions for people for Jess Bradford. Now, we were doing that at the same time as preparing our pitch and our pitch to Olivia's management team in order to get her on board. But there were no guarantees, right? I mean, the odds were against us, we felt. And so we wanted to be prepared that if Olivia said no or was not interested, we could then just pivot and say, great, we've already have all these auditions for Jess Bradford's, right? And we can just pick from this pool. And that's not unprecedented. That stuff happens all the time. And so we were prepared. And that's why we were able to pivot so quickly with Lisa Kovac, was because we already had Lisa Kovac, unbeknownst to her, mind you, but we already had her on our minds if Olivia had turned us down. And so, but Olivia didn't. We reached out to Olivia's manager, Tony Marinozzi, and we were able to, pitch to him the idea. He loved the idea. He pitched the idea to Olivia and David. They liked the idea. They both thought, because of where Olivia was in her life at that time in 2023, they felt that this is the perfect project for her. It's low key. It's not a lot of days, maybe 3 or 4 days, on set. It's not like she's got to commit to, 6 weeks of shooting in this big blockbuster or something, right? It was kind of the perfect sort of fit. And Tony had said that he was unaware of how popular Black Christmas was. He was there at the Chiller convention in 2022 when she was signing in New Jersey. And was he there? Yeah, I think he was there. And he was just blown away by how popular Black Christmas was. Not only was this long lineup out the door to see her for Romeo and Juliet, there were horror fans in line to see her too. And so, when we came along and pitched this idea, he got it immediately. He was like, oh, I totally get this. Like, this totally makes sense. This is fantastic. And so we were very excited about it. We did have Olivia Hussey sign an LOI, which is a letter of intent, LOI, letter of intent, which simply means that I give you permission to use my name, my likeness, my images in for the purposes of raising money. And if you can raise the money in the budget, I will do the project. That's what a letter of intent means. We had Lynn sign one as well, Lynn Griffin, and you do that with certain, not with everybody, of course, but with certain people you want to lock in. That's what you do. And so Olivia was excited about it. She was on board. But of course, a lot of things happened that summer. SAG-AFTRA went on strike. The writers went on strike. We were a union shoot, so Olivia being part of SAG-AFTRA, obviously that put a wedge into our plans, and we had to apply for an interim agreement. We had to deal with SAG. We also had to deal with ACTRA here in Canada as well, the Canadian equivalent of SAG-AFTRA. And so there was a lot going on that summer. And over that summer, Olivia was dealing with some health issues. If you've been following me for a length of time, you know that when the news broke and she had to back out of the project, there were some people, and I get it, but there were some people that said, well, why don't you just wait? Why don't you just wait? And I had to say, well, it's not just a cold. It's not like she just has a cold and we have to wait a week and she'll be good to go. It's reoccurring things that she's dealing with. And that's all I could say because of the privacy and the respect of the situation. But she had been dealing with a situation. But the management team felt that it wasn't going to have any effect on her partaking in our film, which is great. Unfortunately, these things happen, and as the strike dragged on, and as the months rolled on, and as we were getting prepared to shoot in November, obviously it got to a point where her doctors advised her to not travel. And it came down from by her physicians. We spoke with her husband, of course, as well, and she was advised not to travel. And unfortunately, when you're put in that position as producers, you have to make an executive decision. And what I try to explain to people, to understand is that, yes, these are fan films, but you have to understand that they are real professional productions. And in order for us to move the shoot, which we did entertain, I spoke to Tony and we entertained the idea. We were thinking about maybe January. Do you think she'd be ready to go in January? The problem with that, though, is that you have to understand, we're an indie shoot. And when you're 2 weeks away from going to camera, everything is locked in. Everything is locked in. Flights are booked. Hotels are booked. Catering is booked. The location is booked. Equipment rentals. Everything is locked in. And for us to move the shoot would have cost us thousands of dollars, because everything at that point is locked in. Now, if you're a studio film, right, I don't have to worry about that, right? Because that doesn't have to deal with me. They're going to do what they got to do, and we're going to do what we got to do. You know what I mean? But when you're an indie shoot, when you are the studio, for all intents and purposes, you got to think about that stuff. And unfortunately, her manager couldn't give us a guarantee. And I said, if you can give us a guarantee that Olivia will be ready to go in January, then we will move the shoot. We will seriously consider doing that. And how we'd handle it, I don't know. But he couldn't do that. And he thought maybe the spring, but in our minds as producers, we're like, but we have a deadline we want to meet, and there's things that we got to do, and there's no guarantees. There's also no guarantees, folks, that the other actors in the film will be available in January or available in the spring. There's no guarantees that our crew will be available in the spring. There's no guarantees that the location will be available in January. That's why, when things are locked in, especially on the indie level, when you got to pick up and move everything, it can be really, really tricky. So unfortunately, we had to make an executive decision, and we had to move on. Tony understood, her manager, her husband understood, Olivia understood completely. She supported us, wished us the best of luck. And there was there's no animosity there. It's just, this is the reality of show business. This sometimes happens. Actors come on board and drop out for a number of reasons. And unfortunately, it was because of her ailing health. But that's why we were able to pivot. Thank goodness, we did do our due diligence and did have the auditions from a number of actors just in case. And so we pivoted quickly. We sent out the press release, as you guys know, and we then contacted Lisa Kovac, had a Zoom call with her. Lisa had no idea. Oh my God. And Lisa, we thought, did a tremendous job. Not only does she fit the role and is totally believable in the role as a 70-year-old Jess Bradford 50 years later, but she did such a great job stepping in at the last minute getting the script, learning the lines, because we were going to camera within 12 days, so she did a fantastic job and she was tremendous. And so shout out to Lisa for stepping up and doing that. But yeah, that's what happened. That's again, that's the Cliff Notes for my American friends, Cole's Notes for my Canadian viewers, version of sort of what happened there. But these things happen. And it is unfortunate that she couldn't be in It's Me, Billy Chapter 2. Darren Sands, I was talking to Darren earlier today, of course, from the Slaughtered Lamb, and he had mentioned, it's funny. I mean, had she done your film, it's possible it could have been the last project that she did, and that's true. That's true. It's entirely possible it could have been, because Olivia was retired. She had not done a film since 2015. A film with her daughter and with Leonard, but it wasn't a big role. It was it was probably a couple of days on set, maybe. It wasn't a huge role, but that was the last film that she did, and she was very picky, and if she's going to do something, it's got to make sense for her. This is not a secret. It's in her book. She suffers from agoraphobia. And so that was something that we worked with her manager on, her team on, to be able to make sure that we provide a contract and, a rider that has all of the stipulations in it that shows that we are taking care of her. We are flying her first class. We are making her comfortable. We are, a nice hotel with all the space that she needs, all that kind of stuff. And her manager was very impressed. Her manager said, I am incredibly impressed with the attention to detail that you guys have put into taking care of her. Because he says, as you can imagine, we get a lot of offers from a lot of different people, and a lot of it, we don't see this. They'll do things, but we don't see this attention to detail. You guys truly care. And I think that's why they continue to work with us, over the months, even with the strike on. I think that's why, because they really recognize that she would have been in very good hands. She would have been in very good hands. And of course, we wanted to accommodate her, as best as we can. And so, yeah, there was a lot of things that happened, obviously, that goes on behind the scenes that, you guys aren't necessarily privy to. But it's because it's private and none of your business. Because of the, of what, it's not a personal thing, but it's what's at stake, right? The privacy of the situation, and it must be kept internal. And there's still lots of things, obviously, that I have not divulged and I will not divulge that will remain private. But I can simply say that, getting the news last night was, very sad. It broke my heart. And I know it broke the heart of a lot of fans and a lot of Black Christmas fans around the world, not just because she's Jess Bradford or Juliet, but because she was one of the good ones. She was one of those kind, endearing, really thoughtful people, and I will just read what her Instagram post. This was from her official Instagram here. It says, it is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of Olivia Hussey Isley, who went peacefully at home surrounded by her loved ones on December 27th. Olivia was a remarkable person whose warmth, wisdom, and pure kindness touched the lives of all who knew her. Born on April 17th, 1951 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, I probably said that wrong, but I'm trying to say it right, Olivia lived a life full of passion, love, and dedication to the arts, spirituality, and kindness towards animals. Olivia leaves behind a loving family, her children, Alex, Max, and India, her husband of 35 years, David Glenn Isley, and grandson, Grayson, and a legacy of love that will forever be cherished in our hearts. As we grieve the immense loss, we also celebrate Olivia's enduring impact on our lives and the industry. We thank you for your thoughts and prayers during this difficult time and ask for privacy as we mourn the loss of a truly special soul. Olivia Hussey, 1951 to 2024, dead at the age of 73. So tragic in a lot of ways, you know, but that's life, isn't it? You know, it's sad. I'm sad I didn't get the chance to work with her. You know, I was telling Lynn today, we spoke briefly, and I said, she's just devastated. I mean, you know, she did work with her, and was so excited to work with her again. We were all excited. I mean, I was just over the moon. Bruce was over the moon. We were so excited to work with her and to, you know, to do something really, really special. You know, but that's what happens, right? And it was out of our hands, unfortunately. I mean, when it's health related, you know, I mean, health comes first. Health will always come first. When you don't have your health, you don't have anything, you know, and especially if somebody her age, right? You know, and so health will always come first. We were not upset or angry, or, I mean, we were really disappointed, of course. There was nobody that was more disappointed than Bruce and I, let me tell you. Because we worked so hard to even get, you know, that far. Oh, my Google's going off for some reason. I don't know why. Don't you hate that? It's always listening, those damn Google and Alexa shit. But unfortunately, you know, it is what it is. And it's hey, Google, turn off music. Maybe it's Olivia saying hi. I don't know. I don't know why it's turning on music. I should have let it go to see what song it was. But no, but in all seriousness, I'm disappointed that, you know, I didn't get a chance to work with her, because and to meet her, you know, because I think it would have been such, like, by all accounts, like I said, I hear that she's just, you know, a wonderful person and great to work with. But unfortunately, this is the reality. And you know, I want to offer, you know, we did this online, of course, but on behalf of the entire cast and crew of It's Me, Billy Chapters 1 and 2, we offer our sincere condolences to the Hussey Isley clan, the family, her husband and her children, her grandchild, and of course her friends and her family, her extended family as well. You know, it's a tough loss, and we understand, you know, we do. So yeah, one of horror's first final girls. It's hard to believe, isn't it? It's hard to believe. So, but you know what though? As Lynn said today as well, again, you know, we were talking, I feel very, you know, in a lot of ways, I feel very honored to have had the opportunity to even be in a position where she was, you know, interested and excited to be in our project. I think that's really cool in its own right. And I think it's really cool that we've been able to do something for her character. You know, listen, as I say many times on this channel, art is art. Movies, you know, is art. And whether you like the Billy films or not, whether they connect with you or not, that's okay. That's art. And that's just like watching any movie. But I'm very proud of the work we've done on both films. I'm very proud that we were able to deliver something that a lot of Black Christmas fans love and appreciate, and, you know, love that we've done something that is more in line with the original movie than the two remakes ever were. And that we honored Jess's character in a really, really cool way. You know, there was a reason why we had Jess be the one that, you know, took out Billy at the end and not Sam, right? There's a reason why Sam took out Agnes and Billy took out, Jess took out Billy. And there's a reason why we had it done with the fire poker, you know, and, you know, it's unfinished business that Jess had, right? We're talking about Jess now, the character. And so I feel good about that. You know, I feel good that we were able to honor her character in a really cool way, where in a lot of ways, Jess Bradford got the last laugh. Now, I know that our films are unofficial, I know, but we're still the only people who have ever done it. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done. And I can always defend the creative decisions that we've made. You may not agree with the creative decisions we've made, or maybe the direction we, went in chapter 2 here or there. But every filmmaker should always be able to defend those decisions. No decisions are ever arbitrary, right? You know what I mean? Like, you don't just do things because, we thought long and hard, very carefully about the original film, where we were going, the story, how things connect, what makes sense, and all that kind of stuff, and what we want to do, what we want to showcase, how we want to structure it, all that kind of stuff. No creative decision we made was, I don't know, what do you want to do? I don't know. Well, let's just do it. You know what I mean? You can't make a movie like that. I mean, unless you're Halloween 5. But anyway, but you shouldn't make a movie like that. You should always be able to say, well, the reason why we did this was because of this, this, and this, and this, and this. And sometimes when you hear the explanation from a filmmaker, sometimes it can make you go, oh, I see it now. Okay, that makes sense. And then sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you're like, oh, okay, no, I see what you're saying, but no, I still don't like it. That happens too, right? That's just art. That's art. But I'm very proud of both films, and very proud that we had the opportunity to honor not just, Black Christmas, but honor Lynn in a really special way. Her character, having her come back as the sister of her former character. How cool is that? And everybody gets a happy ending. Sam survives. Sam goes from, being, Sam goes from running away to fighting back, right? That's her arc. Nancy gets to rest because she gets to finally get her hands on the evidence that's going to, bring peace to her family and, peace to her sister's death. And Jess gets to rest as well, being able to exonerate the man that she killed, which was her boyfriend, Peter Smythe, the grandfather of Sam. And she did it because she genuinely thought, oh my God, this is a killer. I need to defend myself. But she gets to clear Peter's name after all these years later, and help Nancy in the process, and Sam, of course. I mean, Sam's going to have a long road ahead of her in terms of recovery, but the fact that she was able to go from, that sort of that weary, scared person, just like Emma says, right? Emma says, "You're not like her," meaning your mother. "You're strong like your grandma." Right? You know what I mean? She says that in chapter 1. That's foreshadowing, eventually she's going to have to learn that. She needs to learn to fight back like her grandma did. And she did. She killed Agnes. She did, which was basically her villain, her demon, right? Because of what Agnes did to her at the end of chapter 1. So, I'm very, look, I mean, there's many different ways you could have written the story, but we're very proud of what we were able to do with both chapters, and bring something special to the legacy of Black Christmas, and honor the character of Jess Bradford in a really cool way. And again, shout out to Lisa Kovac for just being tremendous and stepping in, to big shoes, and for taking it on and for doing it. And so far, the feedback on her has been great. You know what I mean? I don't think her takes anybody out of the movie. Most people, I think, are like, oh, I totally I'm in. Of course it would be great if Olivia was there. Even Lisa Kovac would say, well, yeah, of course it would be great if you had the chance to use Olivia, but we didn't, and we couldn't. And so we used the extraordinarily talented and beautiful Lisa Kovac, who is just tremendous. FYI, a little bit of trivia for you. Lisa Kovac actually auditioned for us on chapter 1 to be Agnes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she was in the running. It came down to her and Caro, actually. And obviously, we ended up going with Caro. I forget why we ended up going with Caro over Lisa. Lisa was tremendous. She was great. Why we ended up with Caro, it might have been something, just that one thing that sometimes happens in auditions where you're like, oh yeah, that one little thing. But yeah, and we always kept Lisa in the back of our minds for like future, films and things like that, because we really liked her. And then lo and behold, when we sent out the casting call to the talent agencies here in Toronto, her agency got in touch and submitted her. And we were like, oh my God, it's Lisa Kovac. Oh, okay, cool. And she did a great job in the audition. And she has the same features, the same sort of bolder bone structure as well, which helps to sort of sell it, right? Same thing as Olivia. So anyways, folks, rest in peace, Olivia Hussey. One of horror's first final girls, a horror legend in her own right. And she will definitely be missed. Let's move over to the chat room now and see what all you are saying. I know one super chat did come in. Let me get that super chat now. It comes in from Vio Trapper, sends in $10. Thank you, buddy, and says, hey, Dave, I'm really sorry to hear about Olivia's passing. I send out my condolences, and I'll be watching the original film tonight in memory of her. May she rest in peace. I think that's a fantastic idea. Yeah, hey, listen, if you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts on Olivia Hussey. When was the first time that you saw her? Maybe you're a bit older than me and she was one of, I don't know, she was a high school crush. Maybe you did go to high school with her, I don't know. But I mean, like at that age, right? She was your celebrity crush, maybe in the late 60s, early 70s, or maybe she was still your crush all the way through. Let me know your thoughts on her career, her movies, Romeo and Juliet, Black Christmas, whatever it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And let's see what all you guys are saying. Let me see here. Evil Alex says, must be sad and bittersweet this year. You finished Billy successfully and Olivia is gone now at the end of the year. Life is both sweet and sad at times. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? And it's the 50th anniversary, right? The 50th anniversary of the original Black Christmas this year. It is bittersweet. There's a lot of sadness around it. But I'm just glad that she went peacefully. And that it didn't appear that she was, in any pain or anything like that, which is good. Let me see here. Scroll back. Marshall McRae, hey, good last name, says, hey, all, rest in peace, Olivia Hussey. I agree. Brandon Collins talking to Warren. RJ Skorenke says, hey, Dave, this must be a really sad loss for you, buddy. It's Me, Billy 1 and 2 must be remembered in horror now. Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. I have no control over how It's Me, Billy. It's Me, Billy will be remembered, but certainly she will, and she will be missed for sure. But it's cool. I mean, it's cool that, because Black Christmas is a cult film and it's continuing to gain in popularity over the years, but there's still a lot of people that haven't seen it. Every year I'm seeing people post online, first time watch, never watched this before. Even, our films, right? I've never heard, I'm a huge Black Christmas fan, never heard of It's Me, Billy. So I think both Black Christmas and the Billy films, I think, will continue to find new audiences in the years to come. But because Black Christmas was a niche film, right? A cult film that never spawned a franchise. It never spawned any sequels through, the rest of the 70s or the 80s or even the 90s. It wasn't until 06, 32 years later that they finally did a remake. And so it just wasn't there. It wasn't on the top, and it wasn't a success either. The original film in the U.S. was not a success, and it had a tumultuous. I think either right. Had a difficult. We'll say that had difficult. It's one of those words. Tumultuous. It's like discombobulated. Two completely different meanings, but it had a difficult time. It didn't do well when it was released in 1974, and then it was getting and it was under a different name, Silent Night, Evil Night, and then it was getting re-released in 1977, 78, somewhere around there. But then under a different title called Stranger in the House. But it got pulled from the network because Ted Bundy was caught. And what was Ted Bundy famous for? Killing sorority girls. And so Black Christmas had it tough, man. It had it tough when it first came out in the US. Had a tough road. And so, yeah, it just was never, it was one of those movies that everybody's like, oh, yeah. But because it never spawned a franchise, it never embedded itself into the pop culture horror zeitgeist. And so it was never top of mind. But it does have a loyal following, and it's always had a loyal following. And that's continuing to grow and has continued to grow thanks to the internet, which is great. So, yeah. VO Tripper sends another $10. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. It says, by the way, my apologies if I haven't been around here for a while. That's okay. No worries. I've been dealing with my struggle still, but I do have some potential good news if it's okay for me to share. Yeah, rock away, man. Share some good news. Share some good news. We could use some good news. The world could use some good news, right? You know what I'm saying? Let me see here. Kenny Pham says Stephen King's 50th year in his career is also this year. That's a very good point. His first book as Stephen King was released 50 years ago in 1974. He's also got the alias. What's his alias? Something Bachman. Bachman? Something Bachman. He's also got another name that he writes under, believe it or not. Jan Cramp says, Black Christmas will always be my mom's favorite Christmas movie. Very cool. Very cool. Let's see here. Dwighty Boy 83 says, was just thinking about her a couple of hours before that unfortunate announcement. Olivia was fantastic and will be incredibly missed. Yeah, I think I was actually one of the first to post about it. Outside of obviously her official account. Because when I saw, because I was sitting down to watch a movie and I just so happened to check Instagram right before I did. And I just so happened to see that post from her Instagram page pop up and I saw it and I didn't have my glasses on. So I'm going like this. I'm like, am I reading this right? And then I looked at how long ago it was posted, and it was posted 6 minutes ago. And so when I saw the Hussey post on her Instagram page, it was only 6 minutes old. And so I was like, oh my God. So I quickly just made a post like, I got to get this out. Like this is, oh my God, this is so sad. So I was one of the first to get it out because there were still people that were messaging me saying, well, I don't see anybody like, it's not on Deadline, not on, Variety, not on this. And I said, well, wait, I said, it will be. I said, it's just broken. It's just because of the timing. I just happened to get to it really fast. If I had started the movie, I would have got to it much later, but yeah. And then of course, eventually within the next half hour, everybody's talking about it, it's all over the place. So, yeah, really sad, really, really sad, really sad. Let me see here. Ari1010 says, my son and I were trying to find a movie to watch on Christmas. He thinks he's funny and recommended Halloween. And for a moment, I considered Black Christmas, but ultimately decided not to. Oh, well, Black Christmas is great. I mean, it's one of those movies that you're either going to really love or you're not going to love. It's a 1974, old school horror movie. It's dated, right? The production value is dated. It's a slower burn, a bit of a slower film. But to me, I love it. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And there are some days, like how Darren is with The Fog. I'm kind of like this with Black Christmas. Darren's like, Halloween's my favorite horror movie of all time, but sometimes, depending on the day, The Fog might just slip in. I don't know. It's I'm like that with Black Christmas, and Halloween is my favorite horror movie of all time. But ask me on a particular day, and I might be like, you know what? I'm feeling Black Christmas today. I think Black Christmas is my favorite horror movie of all time today. You know what I mean? Like it's up there, man. I love it. Of course, there's others that I love as well. You know what I mean? Speaking of others, The Others from 2001 is also one of my favorites. But yeah, I mean, it's a classic and it predates Halloween by 4 years. And so, it's one of Halloween, of course, gets all the love and all the recognition, as it should. But without Black Christmas, you may not. There is an argument there. You can make an argument that without Black Christmas, there would be no Halloween. So, you can make an argument that there would have been, but you can make a strong argument that there wouldn't have been. And so, we should tip our hat to Black Christmas a lot. And it's a Canadian movie. I'm very proud of it, obviously. It's one of the great Canadian movies. It's very special up here, of course. There's a lot of good Canadian horror films. My Bloody Valentine, the original, is a Canadian horror film. There's a lot of others as well. Scanners. Even Scanners, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's a Canadian one too. A lot of good Canadian horror movies. The Entrepreneur 20. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate that. Says, thanks, Dave. For one, I'm planning on heading to college starting next year. Congratulations. Good for you. If all aligns well, we'll eventually be where eventually I'll be attending the film course at Niagara College. That's so cool. It was initially delayed because of my mental health. Oh, well, look, buddy, I'm really glad that, you appear to be moving in a positive direction. I think that's really important. Do your best to surround yourself with people. And sometimes this is easier said than done, but do your best to surround yourself with people that, that can lift you up, that can instill you with that positivity and remind you of all the wonderful things that sometimes we forget when we're going through a very, very difficult time. And Niagara College, that's so cool. That must be the Welland campus in Welland, Ontario, which is just outside of Niagara Falls for my American friends that probably have never heard of Welland. It's the same college that I went to. I went to film school there. I took the broadcasting program, radio, television, and film. I was there in the late 90s, a long time ago. I'm pretty sure the film program is very different now, and how they teach it and what you get your. I edited my first year film school film, on the old Steinbecks. I actually was physically cutting 16 millimeter film, like actually cutting the film. And I don't know if they still, maybe there's still maybe there's a class where they teach that. Probably not. You can still shoot movies on film, obviously, but I'll be curious to know whether the film program or any film, I'm sure some do, but I'll be curious to know if Niagara's, it's all digital now, or if it's or if they still have you going out shooting a 16 millimeter film. I'm not sure, but those were the days. Brandon Collins says, when you see an announcement on someone's official page, it's official. You don't need to wait for a deadline or Variety to verify it. I agree, which is why I went ahead and made the announcement. Yeah, you're bang on. If that had not been on her official page, I would not have made the announcement. I would have probably just taken a mental note like, whoa, okay, and either started the movie and waited till after the movie. Or you know what? I probably wouldn't have, depending on where it came from. Right? Like if it started to, to be honest with you, I probably would have sat for another half hour waiting to see if it shows up anywhere. Just because it's Olivia and because of the history that I have with her and her team, and I probably would have waited. I would not have reached out to her manager. We have reached out to her manager now, but I wouldn't have done it without confirmation, right? Because you don't want to do that. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, no, you're right. When it comes from the official page of the actor or actress or whoever it is, then it's in stone, and that's why I felt okay with doing it. Because you're right, had it been from what was that site? Are they still around? Oh, what was that site? We Got This Covered. Do you remember We Got This Covered? Oh my God! If there's one thing that you can count on, We Got This Covered having is very little covered. I don't know if they're around or not, or if they finally kicked the bucket, because I don't really hear about them anymore. But oh my God, We Got This Covered definitely had absolutely very rarely anything covered. So if it had come from We Got This Covered, I would have been like, let me just wait and let me just see here. But yeah, no, you're right. It didn't come from anything like that. Another very generous super chat comes in from Music Man. Thank you, Music Man. Sends in $20 and says, grew up watching Olivia in movies. Every year, my elementary school would play Jesus of Nazareth. Yes, 1977, 78, somewhere around there is when the movie came out. It was a miniseries, I believe. Right before Easter break, and we watched Romeo and Juliet in high school. She had a delicate strength that was palpable on screen. Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, she was a heartbreaker, man. She was beautiful and again, had, even at 15 years old or 16 years old, however old she was in Romeo and Juliet, when you watch her on screen, you know, she has a presence. Like, you know that, oh, she's going to grow up to be a beautiful young woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's got this presence about her. You know what I mean? And you know, as I said at the beginning of the show, has grace and class. Even at that young age, you're like, you're a very classy young woman. Even when you know, now mind you, when you see her interviewed, there's an interview, having said that, there's an interview with her and Leonard Whiting in the late 60s. They were doing, you know, the press junkets at that time for Romeo and Juliet, and little 16-year-old Olivia Hussey is smoking up a chimney while she's, of course, that was very common at that time. And depending on your background and your culture and I mean, that, you know, it would be unheard of today. Not that a 60-year-old is smoking, but that a 16-year-old is smoking during an interview for a movie on camera would be unheard of today. But back then, of course, I mean, it was normal. It was normal for people to smoke on television at that time, right? So you add that, you know, I mean, news anchors were smoking as they were delivering the news. Talk show hosts were smoking up chimneys as they were, you know, it was very common, very normal. There was nothing wrong with it. But today when I watch it, I go, oh my God, yeah, well, yeah, I guess it's kind of, but you're 16 and you're like, yeah, so, you know, and she has this little raspy voice, you know, and I don't think she smoked her whole life. I think it was just something, obviously, a lot of teenagers do. But that was kind of funny. But yeah, she was a very classy young lady, and who grew up to be a very elegant, classy young woman and older woman as well. And that sense, that presence that you talk about, right? That sense that never sort of wavered, it never left her. She was always very much classy in that sense. All right. Let me see here. I got the Music Man one. And then we got another one from Vio Trapura, another generous super chat. Thanks, buddy. Says, the other news I have to share is that I'm hoping to release my website by next year, which will be a hybrid of being review-based and a portfolio for my future film career. If there's any future updates or further updates, I'll let you know. Very cool, man. Well, listen, I wish you the best of luck. You know, just stay strong. Like I said, if you're working hard and you're feeling the burnout, remember to take breaks, you know, to go out with friends, go watch a movie, take a week off, you know, from working on your passion. Sometimes it's nice to just kind of take some time off, rejuvenate, reset, let the creative juices, you know, come back. And then you can feel, because everybody feels burnout. Everybody does. And sometimes you just need a bit of a break, you know, but I think that's really cool, man. You know, I wish you the best of luck with it. Yeah, just keep plugging away, and good luck at Niagara College. I don't know if there's any, I mean, listen, I was there 25 years ago, probably longer than you've been alive. So I don't know if there's anybody that my professors are, I'm trying to remember the names of some of my professors. Well, I know my radio professor. He might still be there, actually. I think he might be. Now, whether he remembers me or not, I don't know. But my radio professor at Niagara College was a guy named Chris Jenneret, who was the son of the Buffalo Sabres play-by-play announcer, Rick Jenneret, who is an NHL play-by-play announcer legend. If you're a hockey fan, if you're an NHL fan, you know what I'm talking about. And the Buffalo Sabres are my favorite hockey team. Well, Niagara is, a stone's throw away from Buffalo. So, I was down in that area going to college. Actually, I think Niagara College even has a U.S. campus in the States, if I'm not mistaken. I think they might be separate colleges, but they're both called Niagara College. Or maybe it's just, anyways, I digress. But his son, the play-by-play announcer for the Buffalo Sabres, his son was my radio professor. And whether he remembers me or not, I don't know. I mean, again, I didn't finish film school. I didn't finish the program. I did 2 years, but I didn't finish it because I found it difficult to keep. I learned a lot and took a lot with me, but I found it difficult to keep up. There was a lot of classes, a lot of electives, a lot of just stuff. I'm like, I need to just focus on this. If it was just radio, TV, and film, I probably would have graduated no problem. But because it was radio, TV, and film, and current events, and broadcast management, and broadcast journalism, and an English course, and a computer, like there was just so many of those other things that you take, and you have to take them, I don't know if it's like that now, but for me, I just found it a little too, So I decided it was best that I kind of leave and pursue my career in the entertainment industry another way, which I did. But it was really cool because about, I don't know, maybe 10 years later, maybe 2010, 11, somewhere around there, somebody reached out to me, a Niagara College student reached out to me wanting to interview me about voiceover for their third year film school thesis. And I was like, well, I never graduated from the program that you're writing the thesis on. And he's like, oh, I know, but you were able to do it. And so I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what and I think their professor was my film school professor at that time, I think. So I don't know. I'm sure when he read my name in there, he's like, what the fuck? I don't know. No idea, but good luck with it, my man. And stay strong. Stay strong out there. Let me see here. Have I got all the super chats? I know a bunch came in. I just want to make sure that I've got them all and that I'm not missing anything. VO Tripper, Music Man, VO Tripper. Okay, good. I have not missed anything. Let me see here. Pet Shipway says, I haven't seen Jesus of Nazareth, but I want to. Yeah, you should. I'm sure you could probably rent it online, or maybe it's even on YouTube for free. I have no idea. I'm sure you can rent it somewhere, hopefully, anyway. Let me see here. Cheston Franklin Jr. says, Dave, my favorite Olivia Hussey performance besides Black Christmas is Psycho 4. She was a beautiful actress and lady, and that will definitely be missed. I agree, Chester. Yeah, she was Norman Bates' mother. Or as I almost said at the beginning of the show today, Bill Gates. Norman Bates' mom, in Psycho 4. That's right. She was also Audra in the 1990 miniseries It. We sometimes forget that. Some people go, oh yeah, she was Audra in Stephen King's It from 1990. Oh my God, that's right. There's some people forget that. For some people, depending how old you are, that's where you first saw her. Or you became first aware of Olivia Hussey, horror fans anyway, from It from 1990. And that's not where I first saw her. Or maybe it was. Did I see It before I saw Black Christmas? It's possible. I was aware of Black Christmas when I was a kid in the 80s, but I wonder if I'm trying to think when I was very young when I first saw it. So I don't know where it falls, but certainly It would have been one of the movies for me, that one of the first movies for me that I saw with Olivia Hussey. And so, yeah, it's cool, man. It's just, just really makes you think, that all we have is now, right? All we have is the present moment. And we're all getting older, I mean, you just never know. You never know. Clint Mitchell says her DVD commentary showed how much she actually loved Black Christmas and loved she didn't have to worry about her weight. Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, no, on Romeo and Juliet. And she was a busty woman as well. Even at a young age, a young teenage girl, obviously, when girls start to develop, she was quite busty and obviously became bustier and, in her adult life. So when she was a teenager, her weight was, and you're a teenager, she liked to eat, and she was never fat. Like I never looked at Olivia Hussey fat, she just had a bit of meat. She wasn't a Barbie doll. Yeah. You know what I mean? But she was gorgeous. She was beautiful. And, but yeah, she does talk about that. You're right. Where they had to like strap her boobs down and she had to watch what she was eating so she didn't gain weight and all this kind of stuff because she had to be perfect. And of course, when she did Black Christmas, I think she still had baby weight, if I'm not mistaken, from her child she had with Dean Martin's son. I think that's in and around that time. And so I know that when she did Black Christmas, she had just had a baby, like a year prior or something like that. So I think she still had a bit of baby weight, but she didn't care because she was like, I get to wear this sweater with two big hands on it and I get to wear like a pants and I don't have to, it's just fantastic. You know what I mean? So she didn't care. She didn't care. And she looks great in Black Christmas. You know what I mean? Like she was never fat, but, show business, right? Show business. But yeah, no, she did. I think especially for Olivia, because Olivia was very classy, very, she wasn't a horror person. You know what I mean? She was, she liked her, she was more, mature actress, and horror, especially at that time in the 70s, horror. Like there's one thing that, listen, you know how I feel about Tony Moran. You know how I feel about Tony Moran. But if there's one thing that I agree with Tony Moran on, and it's not much, but if there's one thing I agree with Tony Moran on is when he said that, in the late 70s, at that time, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, at that time, horror wasn't something that you just walked around, talking about doing. He said at that time, it was like, one leg, or one notch below porn, or above porn or below porn, or above porn. No, below porn. Anyways, you know what I'm trying to say. I guess depends on how you look at it, right? But you know what I mean? It's like, it was like, oh, it's horror. Oh, it's not respected. It's a horror movie. You know what I'm saying? And especially at that time. Like now, horror still has that stigma. Now, it's nowhere near as bad as it was 50, 60 years ago. And also, depending on the horror film, horror is much more respected and revered today, but it wasn't always like that. And so when Tony says that, he's not wrong. That it was, you don't always walk around saying, I'm in a horror movie. I'm in a movie called Attack of the Killer, whatever. I'm in a, it's not, people are like, oh, it was seen as not, you know what I mean? And again, we don't know. I don't know if there's anywhere where Olivia says this, but as I said at the top of the show, one of the main reasons why Olivia did Black Christmas was because a psychic told her she was going to be doing a horror movie. And I think we even went as far to say as in Canada. But I stand corrected on that, but that you're going to do a horror movie and you need to do it. And she was a very spiritual person. So had a psychic not said that, would Olivia have done Black Christmas? Maybe. Actors want to work, right? Maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? She might have been like, oh, it's a horror movie. But I think over the years, as the genre became a little more respected, as Black Christmas started to get a little more respect and it's, its feet sort of going in the world of horror after its, difficult sort of first step into the US movie sphere. I think Olivia began to realize, wow, there's a lot of people that really love this movie. There's a lot of people that really love, me in this movie. And then, of course, she goes on and does It, and she goes on and does, Psycho 4. And so I don't think Olivia I mean, I don't think at any point she ever hated horror. I'm just simply saying that it is true what Tony Moran says, that especially at that time, horror movies, you know, it's not something you know, I mean, there was a time when movies in general were seen as, oh, you're a movie actor? Well, like the stage was still where it was at. I'm a theater actor. I'm a real actor because I'm part of the stage. And you're a movie actor. And then it got to the point where, oh, you're a movie actor. Oh, you're a television. Oh, you're on TV. Where then it was like movies was where it was at. And if you're a TV actor, you're a TV actor. Seriously, our history in entertainment has gone through those types of stages, right? Now it's kind of all we kind of respect everything, I guess. But yeah, there was a time when people were embarrassed to talk about being in a horror movie. I'm not saying Olivia ever was. I'm just saying that at that time, being in horror movies were, you know, you got to be careful, right? You know, with how much you tell or, you know, yeah, like it's pretty crazy. So, but she did it. And she became one of the most famous, revered final girls in the history of the genre. And I think the two movies that she was most known for from fans are Romeo and Juliet first, obviously, because that's the big one that has the broader reach, and then Black Christmas. You know what I mean? It's pretty crazy. It's pretty wild. Let me see here. Simon Mills sends in a member chat. Thank you, Simon. And says, we lost a horror legend today, Dave. It was yesterday, but I totally get what you're saying. Her performance in Psycho 4 was top notch. Rest in peace, beautiful soul. Thank you, Simon. And yeah, I agree. Rest in peace, Olivia Hussey. Thank you, Simon. Appreciate that. The Violator 862 sends in a very generous super chat. Thank you, buddy, of $49.99. Thank you. Really, really appreciate that. And says, I guess I'll share some happy news too. I'm getting ready to join the Coast Guard. Amazing. I've been training for boot camp and I'll likely ship out by early 2026 when I'm 20 years old. Wow. So you're a young dude too. Amazing. Excited for this next chapter in my life. Well, dude, hey man, you're young. You got the world ahead of you. You're going to be a part of the Coast Guard. That's awesome. That's really cool. Congratulations, buddy. Congratulations. And I wish you the best of luck. And when you're part of the Coast Guard and you're out on that ship and you got some downtime, make sure you got some Wi-Fi and you can tune into the channel. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Congratulations. Very cool indeed. Let me see here. Have I got... Okay, I did get all the super chats, right? Let me just go back to the other screen. I want to make sure I've got them and I'm not missing anything here. No, it doesn't look like. It looks like the Violator 862 was the last one that came in. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Just want to make sure. CM talking to, okay, you guys talking amongst yourselves. Brandon Collins says, Dave, remember how tattoo is used to be, let me try this again. Remember how tattoo it used to be, taboo. I'm sorry. I don't have my glasses on. My apologies, Brandon. Let's try this again. And action. Dave, remember how taboo it used to be for stars to do commercials? Yes. That's another good one. They traveled to Japan just to do them. Hell, Lost in Translation is partly about that. That's a really good movie. If you guys want to see a good movie directed by Sofia Coppola, starring Bill Murray and what's her face? Scarlett Johansson. If you want to see it, Really, really good. That movie got Bill Murray an Oscar nom. I thought he was terrific in it. He was playing against type in that movie, which was great for him. Now he's done that a few times. But at that time, in 2003, 2004, Bill Murray was still very much the comedy guy. And he played against type in that movie, and I thought it was great. I actually really liked that movie. But yes, you're right. You're right. Oh, it was so different. Like, you know, again, like, yeah, like horror still has a stigma around it. It still does. It still does. But it's not nearly as taboo as it was 50 years ago. So like I said, listen, there's a lot of shit that comes out of Tony Moran's mouth that I'm just like, Tony, shut up. What are you doing? But that's true. What he says about that is true. And I have no doubt that he was probably a little embarrassed to tell anybody that he was going to be in this little independent movie called Halloween down the street. Yeah, I have no doubt he probably was. He probably was. He probably didn't tell fuck all. He probably didn't say anything. I'm not saying, again, Olivia was like that with Black Christmas, but the world of horror and how the industry and the public perception of horror at that time, yeah, it was very taboo and very kind of like, oh, horror, right? You know what I mean? So yeah, like you go from stage and then movies and like, oh, well, if you're a movie actor, pfft, I'm a stage actor. And then television comes along. Oh, you're a TV actor? Well, I'm a movie actor. You know what I mean? It's like, what the? Oh yeah. And then now, like I said, now it's kind of, well, now, I mean, we saw it happen with the internet. Oh, you're a YouTuber. You know, you're on the internet. You know what I mean? Like, you do see it, right? And it will continue to, and it will. Now, I think the internet and YouTube probably is a little more respected now than say it was maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But there will be something that will replace this kind. Maybe it'll be virtual reality or something. There will be something. The next thing will eventually come. The next thing will eventually come. And then you'll see all the YouTubers going, oh, you're well, I'm a YouTuber. I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy indeed. Pretty crazy indeed. But hey, it is what it is. Let me see. What's the time here? All right, we'll go for about another 10 minutes or so, another 10 minutes, and we'll call it a day. VO Chapur says, anyhow, I'm going to be heading out for now. Thank you, Dave, for the kind support, and thanks for those who continue to support me as well. I'll see you in the new year. Take care, buddy. Stay safe out there. Stay safe. Oh, there you go. Steve Ross says, Chris Jenneret is still at Niagara College. Well, there you go, folks. Chris Jenneret is still at Niagara College. Well, shout out to Chris Jenneret. I don't know if he remembers me, but shout out to Chris. I hope he is doing well. Scott Beckett sends in $10. Thank you, Scott. Really appreciate that. And says, hey, always a pleasure. It is. It is. Thank you. Wanted to share with you and the McRae's that I proposed to my lady, Penny, on Christmas Day. And she said, yes, yes. I'll keep you all up to date. And as always, keep smiling. Amazing. Well, congratulations, Scott, to you and Penny. And I wish you the best of luck in your journey of love. Your journey of love. It's nice. People are sharing some good news here today. I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome. Tabitha Short, what's going on, Tabitha? One of our great moderators here says, okay, everyone, it's so pretty outside. I'm going to go for a walk, but talk to you later. Rest in peace, Olivia Hussey. Take care, Tabitha. Is it pretty here too? Looks a little overcast here. But I might go for a walk too. Get out, stretch the legs. Chester Franklin Jr., Dave, have you seen her in the movie Lost Horizon, 1973? I have not. Tina McEwen, is that how we say that? Says, hello, yes, was sad to hear Olivia Hussey's passing. Loved her in the 1974 horror classic Black Christmas. Tina in Bangor, Maine, rest in peace, Olivia. Oh, you're Tina in Bangor, Maine, I think you're saying. Rest in peace, Olivia. Love you always as Jess. Well, shout out to Tina in I've been to Bangor, not in a very, very long time, but I was there in 1997. 96 or 97. At the time, my stepsister was getting married. And she was, and the wedding was in, I don't know if it was right in Bangor, but we definitely drove to Bangor. It wasn't that far. And, stood outside Stephen King's house. And I don't think Stephen King lives there anymore, or he's there part-time. But at that time in the 90s, he was there, and he was there when I was outside of his house. Not like out on the porch or anything, but he was there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, very cool. Well, shout out to Bangor, Maine. Let me see here. All right. Another 5 minutes or so, another 5 minutes, and then we will call it a day. Another 5 minutes and we'll call it a day. Let me scroll back here, see if I've missed anybody. I don't think I have. You guys are just chatting amongst yourselves, which is fantastic. I love it. I love seeing the community engage that way, which is really cool. Scrolling back. Guitarist Dog 87 says, this is strange. Throughout the month, I was dead set on watching Black Christmas, but couldn't get around to it. Tonight, I have a good reason to watch it. There you go, buddy. And then watch It's Me, Billy 1 and 2. Anyway, yeah. No, that's it. No, I hear you. Tonight's a good night to do it. Let me see here. Ooh, Area 1010. Did I read this already? I'm not sure. It says, I actually prefer Black Christmas over Halloween, but I think I prefer A Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's close. I think I might have read that, but nonetheless, very cool indeed. Scrolling back. CM says, my Jess replica sweater came yesterday and I was explaining the significance of it to my wife. Then saw the announcement a couple of hours later. Sad. CM, folks, in the chat there is one of our great channel members. He's also one of the executive producers on It's Me, Billy Chapter 2. And CM obviously was entitled to the replica sweater, with the hands, and it came in. I'm so glad it came in. Awesome. And isn't that a coincidence, man, eh? You know, it comes in and you're explaining the significance to your wife, and then a couple hours go by and there's the announcement. Wow. Incredible. Well, I'm so glad it came in. It came in. Has the Michael Myers mask come in yet? Because in that box is the mask, some photos, your ornaments. If it hasn't come in yet, I'm sure it eventually will at some point. But that's cool. Awesome. I'm so glad the sweater came in. Yes. TSL Movie Podcast says CM is an absolute trooper. 100%. 100%. Yeah, you are, dude. I mean, the level of support, I mean, everybody, but to do that level of support and everything for the film, is just awesome. It's just awesome. Guitarist Dog 85 says, Dave, isn't it crazy how 25 years have passed since the transition into the 21st century? 1999, 2000, or Y2K. For strange reason, those last few months of 99 were significant. Yeah, it was definitely, it's hard to believe that it was 25 years ago. It's hard to believe that it's going to be 2025 next year. I mean, that's just wild, man. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy to think. It's absolutely wild. CM says, yes, it has. Awesome. Great. So glad that came in as well. Yeah, we're starting to get everything out now. Obviously, the Blu-rays will be the last because we're still in the process of building the BTS featurette for It's Me, Billy Chapter 2. And then once that's done, then we send everything off to the company that's going to do all the authoring and all that. And then, yeah, so we're hoping late winter, early spring is what we're hoping for. But we'll keep everybody posted. It's a process, but yeah, we have begun to get all those things out now, and there's still more to come. So we appreciate everybody's patience, but it's nice to know that things are starting to kind of get delivered. So thank goodness. Let me see here. Danita Brown says, have a good one, everyone. Celebrating my little grand dude's 4th birthday. Oh, that's so sweet. Lots of fun to be had. Oh, and I loved receiving my snow globe yesterday as well. Love it. Thanks, Dave. Yes, that's right. That's right. Somebody gifted you a snow globe. And I'm so glad that it came in. Thank you for letting us know, Danita. And Danita's been, here for how many years, Danita? God, you've been here forever. You're one of my oldest viewers, my longest viewers. Oldest? No. One of the longest. No, it's just awesome. So glad to see you, Danita, and have a great rest of your day celebrating your grand dude's 4th birthday. Scott Beckett sends in another $5. Thank you, Scott, and says, I want to start collecting masks, Myers to be exact. Any tips for a noob? Well, I'll just say that there are some terrific independent mask makers out there. You can go the official route. You can get a Michael Myers mask from Trick or Treat Studios or something like that. But I much prefer, because I'm a purist and I like to have the best of the best, I much prefer to go the independent route. I'll just say the artist that we used on the It's Me Billy Chapter 2 campaign is a guy by the name of Jimmy Falco. And if you look up Jimmy Falco on Facebook, he's also on Instagram. He is awesome. And he's got some great Michael Myers masks, like masks that look like they walked off the set of the original Halloween. And he was the one that did the Halloween Kills flashback masks from Halloween Kills, the Michael Myers masks, obviously. He did those from the Halloween Kill. Let me try this again. He was the one that did the Michael Myers masks from the flashback scene in Halloween Kills for our Indiegogo campaign. And they look amazing. Like, they look exactly like that. He is awesome and terrific to deal with. So I highly recommend Jimmy Falco. He's got a company name as well. It escapes me off the top of my head, but he's pretty easy to find online. And he's one of the big guys in the space. And so, if you're looking for like real authentic, like, oh my God, this is not mass produced masks, go to Jimmy Falco. You won't be disappointed. I don't know if he does. I don't know if he has molds where he does like all the different versions of the masks. So if you want like an H2O mask or a resurrection mask or something like that, I don't know if he does those. I'm not 100% sure. He might, but he definitely does the Halloween 1 mask, and he does a tremendous job. CM right there says, I can tell you the Myers mask is excellent. Looks exactly like the original film 78. If even having the knitting needle, it even has the knitting needle in the neck. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's cool. He's awesome. And he did all our masks. So really, really nice guy. Danita says, I was there for your first Halloween movie night, with the black backdrop. Oh my God, I remember that. Yes, that was the very first live show I ever did. That was Halloween 2017. 2017, Danita. That's going to be 8 years ago next year. I remember that I had my channel since 2006. I'm one of those guys that, have had their channel a long time, but I didn't upload anything other than little Halloween Michael Myers shorts. It was in 2017 that I really began to put myself out there in this kind of way. And I wanted to do something special for Halloween because I was starting to build a community. And so I watched the original Halloween live with a black backdrop because I had to go to a different location and in my house. And yes, I remember that. That live stream has like 50 or 60,000 views right now. Something silly like that. I'm like, really? And it's a terrible live stream. Oh, it's terrible. I mean, I think it's terrible because it was my first one. So I come across as a little clunky, not as polished. You know what I mean? And, but yeah, oh my God. Yeah, you're an OG. Danita Brown is an OG, ladies and gentlemen. Very cool, Danita. Very cool. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your day. All right, folks. Well, listen, that is going to do it for this episode of McRae Live. I want to thank all my my channel members for being a part of the channel. I really appreciate it. I want to thank, of course, all the super chats that came in today. Thank you so much for the very generous super chats. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you to my to the viewers, of course, and to why do I want to say supporters? Yes, supporters. My not supporters. My I'm having a major brain fart, ladies and gentlemen. Having a major brain fart. Thank you to my the Blue Wrench people. The Blue Wrench people. Why am I'm having a major brain fart. Oh my God. I've been just going at this way too long. Oh my God. Somebody tell me what you are. Why am I having a major brain fart? Oh my God. You're a moderator. Jesus Christ. A moderator. What the hell is wrong with me? A moderator. Evil Alex members. There's Brandon Collins. Now he says moderator. That's right. Moderators. Oh my God. You know what I think happens? Yes, I'll be 46 next year. But I think I work at such a high level in terms of energy that sometimes my brain just, I'm like, well, I mean, you look at the energy that I do these shows at, and so that's a lot of energy. There's many times I'm done a show here and I'm like hungry. I'm like, I got to go raid my fridge. I've released, worked off so many calories. My God, Jesus. Moderators. Thank you to my moderators. You're amazing. Thank you for doing what you do. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Brandon Collins, especially today. And Cody, of course, I saw you guys doing your job. And I really appreciate that, of course. The moderators, the channel members, the viewers, the super chats, the member chats, all of you, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you. And if you're watching after the fact, jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts on anything I had to say here today. And of course, on the wonderful and great and legendary Olivia Hussey. Rest in peace, Olivia. Gone, but not forgotten. All right, folks, have a great rest of your Saturday, a great rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Cheers.